got to learn how to be grateful that if God don't do nothing else, I just thank him for what he's already done, because he's already done more than enough. And so if God don't do nothing else, how many of you can say, I can got enough to tell him thank you for the rest of my life? For the rest of my life. Because when you acknowledge him, that means when you're on the mountain, you got to acknowledge him. You got to acknowledge how you got to the mountain. Don't get promoted in life and act like you promoted yourself. Acknowledge him. Don't let nobody say, oh, you lucky, it was fortune or by chance. No, you better acknowledge him. You better say it was only because of the grace and the mercy of an almighty. I feel like shouting at 2:30. It's only for the grace and mercy of an almighty God. But then if you're in the valley, and I know some of you may be stuck in the valley and you're grumbling and complaining because you're in the valley, but you better shout even in the valley, because you wouldn't have come this far if you were in that valley by yourself. The only reason you come as far as you come is because although you feel alone, you ain't by yourself. There's been a God in that valley with you. Do I got anybody that know that after all you've been through, you still got some joy? You got to learn how to acknowledge him. Don't act like you raised those kids because you were so smart. You better acknowledge him. Don't act like you got that job because you were so qualified. You better acknowledge him. Kinlock, don't act like you built this church because you were so brilliant. You better acknowledge him. You better acknowledge that God will sanctify your ignorance, that even when you don't know, you serve a God that does know, and he'll take you places. Ooh, I wish I had somebody felt like I felt. He'll do stuff for you. When I trust him, when I lean on him, when I acknowledge him, he'll direct my path. And some of y'all can't get excited because you don't know how God directs. He directs better than Google. See, some of y'all like the way Google directs. But Google directs with coordinations and with animations. So you input your destination in Google, and Google give you this animation of streets and its area view, but it's not the literal street. And so Google right now understands that, so they're investing money and in technology, that they got people riding down the street with camcorders, going up and down the street to get actual and factual streets, so they can input it in their system, so that from now on, when you put in your address, your destination, it won't just give you lines and animation. It will give you the actual and the factual. I thought about that. I said, Google, that's going to be something that I'm going to be able to put in my destination and see the actual and factual streets. But then it dawned on me, even with all of that, they may be able, Google may be able to get me to my destination, but they're not going to tell me what I got to go through in order to get there. But let me tell you how God directs your path. When you trust in him and lean on him and acknowledge him, what he's saying is he'll remove some stuff out of your way. In other words, not only will he remove some things, but somebody ought to shout that he'll remove some people. Because there are people in your life that are trying to keep you from your destiny. But somebody ought to shout today, what God has for me is just what God has for me. It's just for me. You got to know that you serve a God that when you lean on him, and you depend on it, and you trust him, when people try to stand in your way, God said, don't worry about it. I'll go before you and clear those folk out of your way. And when you look back on it, folk ask you, how did you make it down that road? You will have to say it was nobody but the Lord. Do I got anybody up in here that can shout because you know it was nobody but